All right, welcome in the second part of this email writing etiquettes and how to write an email. We talked about all these points which were needed about writing an email, and maybe perhaps you already know all these points. Moving forward down the line, do not attach unnecessary files. Of course, we know that attaching unnecessary file would overburden your email, or receivers they would be confused either what to see, what to open, what to not open. So that creates hustle and bustle in reading or dealing with your email. So you need to just attach your files or the folder that is needed or that is the most important part. Then replying to an email is an important part, and how to reply to an email, because we receive an email and then we think that how we need to reply. They say that when you receive an email and this email is sent to almost, for instance, 50 people, and if you reply all, and if this reply all may bother the rest of the 49 people, and if you're concerned only with one person and if you're replying all, that is completely unprofessional. So if you're concerned with only one person out of 50, you just reply to that particular person rather replying all, because the rest of the people will be bothered with this email. They'll receive it and they are not concerned with the email, so of course they would have issue. Now it's time to talk about how to reply and when to reply to an email. Whenever we receive an email, they say, when I say they say, books and research says that you need to give reply as soon as possible. The reason being, the sender may be waiting for the reply, and if it is most urgent, of course, then it should be done as soon as possible. So within 24 hours, they say that you need to give reply. This is called the washback effect, right? This is a term that we use, washback effect, because I need to discuss something with you today, and and I have sent you an email, and if you give me reply after a week, of course, maybe I have forgotten that part now, right? The washback effect is affected, right? So we need to give things or replying to the email as soon as possible. And whatever they have asked, you need to stick to the point here, stick to the subject where you need to reply as per the questions being asked, rather adding something which is not needed. That affects the quality of the email. On the other hand, we usually, yes, do not overuse reply to all. We already talked about it. And one-liner answers are, of course, not acceptable at times, and you need to give proper details, and the details, only the details needed, rather giving a details which may, the readers are lost in the details. So you need to be extremely concise, concrete, and on the other hand, complete as well. Now, sending an email here. So when we say that send an email, they say that you need to prioritize your receivers and do not overuse the high priority option. Where, I mean, prioritizing your receivers, where you send an email to a particular person and you expect that person that he or she will inform the rest of the people. No, you need to keep all people in loop, right? And send or copy only on a need to know basis. Of course, copying messages are at times not acceptable. BCC and such points, we'll talk about it. Use the BCC field or do an email merging email would, of course, we'll talk about it in upcoming slides. And this is something very important, that before clicking on the send button, you need to proofread and read it again, because at times we have typos, at times we have errors, and these errors are not identified while writing such emails. So what we can do is that you take your time, just read it thoroughly, and of course, then send it to the receiver. There are things that we need to consider here. Never use or send an email address that is, I mean, do not share information which is extremely confidential through an email, and never resolve a conflict via email. Of course, if you need to resolve a conflict, it should be resolved through spoken communication rather written communication, because in written communication, we never convey a message in a way that we can convey in oral communication. So resolving conflict should not be through emails. It should be through oral communication. And they say that if you're angry, just shut down your system. Do not write any email or anything else, because it will at times compel you to write something that you do not want to write in a normal situation. And once it is sent to the person, it will never be deleted. It will always be there, right? Because whatever you write, it becomes permanent. So be cautious while writing. You should, if you're angry, stop writing. And of course, pick up the call, pick up the phone to talk to the person that you want to talk to. And this is something that we were talking about, writing emails and discussing all these worthy lines about emails. In the two lines, see, there are two things. When you put someone's email address into, and once you put someone's email address in from, right? For instance, I'm writing an email, and email will go from me to a person. So from is me and to is someone else. So if I put someone's email address into, and if I put someone's email address in CC, what is the difference between these two people? I mean, why we put someone in CC, right? So see, we need to understand these two terms here. They're technical, and we need to understand it. If I put someone into, right? So I'm expecting from the person to take action on that particular part that I'm sending. And if I put someone in CC, which is carbon copy here, so in that carbon copy, I'm expecting the person to just be informed. You're not supposed to take action on the email that I'm sending. I just want to keep you informed. And two is someone who is supposed to take action against the email. Maybe if he or she has been assigned some tasks, so they need to get it done. And if they have to do something else, so they have to do those jobs, right? So two is to take action. CC is to just keep people informed. And on the other hand, if we talk about the BCC here, so BCC is actually something that we usually, if I want to keep the identity of the some receivers hidden, so I keep that person or such email addresses in BCC, and that is the only reason. By the way, in our culture, when we keep people in CC or BCC, that is in one way or another, we directly or indirectly threat people that, see, I have kept boss in CC, so be cautious, and now you have to do that thing, right? If you have kept someone in BCC, of course you give that the receiver an impression that I have kept someone in BCC. So you must be cautious, and you need to do it as soon as possible or within the given deadline. So they are considered as threat. But professionally, they have their own meaning, and they have a different meaning. So it depends on, it varies from culture to culture. These two terms are extremely important for you to know, the PS and the NB. PS stands for postscript. Postscripts are written in the email at the end of the email, where we put the information that we forget in the email writing. For instance, I started writing an email, and I'm now done with the email and I'm about to send it, but I recall that I need to add something which I forgot to add, and now I need to add that part. Since we have studied cohesion and coherence, so if you add something in between the paragraphs, right? So they break down the flow of that writing. So they say that rather putting things in the meanwhile somewhere else in between the paragraphs, rather you can write it separately in the PS, which is considered as postscript. It is at times a line, a statement, right, or two or three lines. So you identify that this is something very important, and you give an impression to the readers that I forgot that particular part somewhere else in above in the paragraph, and I have mentioned it here now separately. The other use of PS, the postscript, is that you want to talk about something important. So of course we write it in the postscript that this is something important that I have mentioned separately. NB is it's a Greek word which means notabella, right? And in English, we say note well. This is also used where you want to talk about something very important. At times, our emails becomes thick and lengthy, and you feel that this point maybe is missed by the reader, or he or she will be lost somewhere else in those thick and choppy or wordy paragraphs. So you just write down that particular part, that statement, that particular phenomena, that particular point separately by identifying or writing n.b colon at the end of the email, and you just write it down in a sentence, two or three, where you give an impression to the reader again here that this is something important. You need to be very cautious about it and take it in consideration. So this is something that we discussed about email writing. Nowadays in corporate sector, since everything has now been shifted from hard to soft, therefore the frequent use of email writing is there. And of course, whatever we write, whatever we do, whatever communication we want to have which is official, and if we want to make it a record, we communicate through emails. There are different mediums, but email is the most convenient one here. And people say that it is reliable as well, because you have a record of things on the one hand, and on the other hand you keep writing, and that communication becomes the part of the record. And then you can claim someday in future, maybe if something, or if a mishap takes place somewhere else in the organization. It was all from my side here about this particular email etiquettes and email writing. I hope that you will prepare a list of your questions for the online session where we will be online, and we'll discuss things in detail. Till then, take a very good care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.